Alright, welcome to the new model tournament. There's three race here between Coxla and Krithel. We should be getting started pretty soon. Hope you're ready to see a lot of glitches, because that is definitely something that we not only allow, but will probably need to beat a no-logic seed. Looks like we're off. So, briefly, how these two got here. Coxla was given a bye into the second round. He managed to beat Visa Cut 2-1. Krithel did not get a bye, but he managed to win both of his series against Tajso and against JD Silvergun. So, two pretty good runners here. Hopefully we get to see a fun race. Starting off with this clip to Hobo, making use of the sloped collision, which is pretty easy to bypass. We might see from here some more swimming. It looks like we are getting from Krithel at the very least. A new glitch has allowed us to kind of swim using sloped walls through terrain, and we're going to be using it here to get to Ice Rod Cave very quickly. Hopefully, we can get stuck if we do it wrong, but... And then from Ice Rod Cave, we'll probably use Ice Rod Cave for a water walk to get most of the flippers checks done. Krithel gets it pretty quickly. Thankfully, the pit is here in Ice Rod Cave, which gives us a water walking state. We wouldn't be able to open the chest if we were still swimming. Cox is in as well. Oh, Krithel entered a bit high, so he's gonna have to leave and re-enter. Maybe twice. Okay, he's good. This might look a little strange because we're going to the Zora area and we very obviously do not have 500 rupees. However, Zora is a check that a lot of people don't like to do in no logic because a lot of glitches require potions. Potions can be kind of expensive, so the 500 rupees are often better spent elsewhere. Not much exciting so far. Just some more rupees. We could have got this item if we wanted it, but looks like Coxla might go for it. Krithel decided against it. Coxla does it in a way where he's gonna have to walk all the way around. You can jump straight over the fence to the item, but it's not super easy to do, so... Having rupees is nice, but we will probably see a whole hand done from both runners later on. Green Pennant in Easton and a bottle in Sank. Bottle is huge. It comes with a blue potion as well, which we don't dislike seeing. Bottles are kind of the lifeblood of a lot of glitches. We're going to be using them for a variety of things. Some people might be familiar with the use of a blue potion on the overworld to do a fake flute, but potions have far more powerful uses in the underworld as well. They will hopefully be allowing us to bypass some key requirements and item requirements. Bottles are kind of used to replace lots of combinations of items for finishing dungeons. We might see potions used a lot less for safety. Krithel attempts a chest turn and doesn't get it. It's using the potions in doorways, kind of doing two things at once. Drinking the potion and using a door transition, kind of... The game has unexpected results. A lot of the time it involves us kind of moving around on the underworld map further than one door transition might do normally. But there are other things. Bushcrab giving red rupees is really nice. I'm going to be talking a lot about how much money we need. We're very greedy as no logic runners. It's interesting to see the lumberjack check for both of them. Very few people will do aga for the lumberjack item because it's very slow. We don't have a good way, well, we don't have any way actually, of glitching to that item. If we want the item, we have to kill aga. That's slow, so as long as the item isn't required, we're probably not going to see it. But it can be useful to know if something you want is there, that maybe you're not going to get it because it's on lumberjack. We see Coxla go straight up to the mountain, using some more broken terrain. It's kind of the theme. A lot of the overall glitches make use of the slopes. We can clip into them and do some teleports. Krithel going up Death Mountain a more normal way. The way Coxla did it is a little less common. Going straight up to the top of the mountain, Krithel will be entering the old man cave instead. There's a shovel and arrow. Kind of interesting. We saw both of our runners in the Lost Woods. Neither of them chose to go to Kakariko. Kakariko is kind of... it has just as many items as normal, but a lot of people like putting it off because there are so many things that we can combine with Kakariko. Not just things like a sick kid or activating a flute, but we can do things in desert, or checkerboard cave, or a lot of other things nearby. So it can be useful to wait, hopefully find some more items. See a TR big key, it's pretty useful. Not every big key is as useful as you might be used to, but TR is a nice one to have. So Krithel here is jumping back off the mountain to go to Grey Village. Grey Village is a very common early play. It has a lot of bombs inside, which can be hard to find early on. And not only that, but because of the way we jumped off the mountain, our camera's a little offset, and when we fall into a pit, the hula hand room will activate because we're not where the game expects us to be for falling into that pit. If you've played an Overworld Glitches seed, you might be expecting to see the same thing done later for King's Tomb. We have a much quicker way of going to King's Tomb, which I think we'll see from both of them. Pretty soon, in fact. Yeah, here's the land room. Krithel collecting as much money as he can. Coxla right behind him. So this is kind of normal for early game to no logic seed. People might take order things slightly differently, but we'll see a lot of the same checks done. We'll see Death Mountain stuff. We'll see South Shore. We might see a delay on Kakariko, but there's a sword, that's very nice. We've had a lot of seeds this tournament so far where people end up in sword go mode. So seeing an early sword is such a huge relief. It's nice for fighting enemies as well as for doing glitches. It kind of speeds things up because of the ability to do spin speed. So yeah, we're heading to Mini Moblin Cave now. This is where we can do a glitch to get to King's Tomb. We're going to be using the door at the back. We're going to use a bomb in the doorway to snap beyond the transition point, and that will allow us to hit the transition from the other side. And it turns out that the underworld map is arranged in such a way that when we transition up from Mini Moblin Cave, we'll end up in King's Tomb. It's going to look pretty funky because of the camera being broken. There's a mirror here. Mirror's pretty nice. Very far from being required, but you're never going to turn down having it. Krithel did that so quickly. Very nicely done. It looks like rupees in King's Tomb. So now we'll see what's next. It might be Death Mountain. Krithel didn't do anything on Death Mountain yet, aside from the old man. I think when Coxla was in Hera, he didn't check the map chest because he only had one bomb. So Krithel should be showing us that. He has the sword now, so hitting the switches is much easier. Just a piece of art. Yeah, we see Coxla doing a more ordinary Duke, where you buffer it a lot. We try to move down 2 frames, which is hard to do unbuffered. Oh, he's out of health, so he can't do it. There's a lot of other ways to King's Doom, though, that just happens to be the quickest. So it's no big deal. So now we see them kind of synced up. Krithel slightly quicker through everything, but far from being a very significant lead. Oh no! Death Mountain takes another victim. Death Mountain is so terrifying in glitched scenes because you come up here so early and you find so fewer items and health. Coxla going straight to Dark World. This is interesting. He didn't... I guess he's getting rid of his blue potion. The blue potion is surprisingly one of the least useful. A lot of the door glitches we want to do will make use of other potions, so just getting the fake flute done, finding some Dark World stuff to do, maybe opening up the front of Thieves Town. Because he fluted in the Dark World, the flute menu brings him to the Light World screen, which is Kakariko, but he never transitions to the Light World, so he's still in the Dark World now. He has the Super Bunny. Oh no! Okay, he did have a Super Bunny. From the Fade Flute, and he was trying to take that to a tree. Pulling on the tree as Super Bunny will give him a link state and allow him to do things in the Dark World. But he resets, gets his potion back, might try again. Krithel meanwhile doing Spiral Cave. Yeah, the sword works slightly differently when you're a Super Bunny. You can slash things, but not much else, so it's very dangerous out there to be a bunny. You have to try not to get hit. And there's a lot of enemies in the way. Here he goes for try number 2. Paradox Cave, not looking super useful. Some people might like that mail, some people might not. With a mirror, we're less likely to be seeing a lot of death warps, so the mail is probably a welcome sight. Ooh, that's big. An ice rod. Now we are playing with an item pool that has 2 of each rod. This is not the only ice rod in the seed, but finding an ice rod early can be really big. Especially if the seed begins to approach Go mode early on. See Krithel entering the Dark World portal. He might be doing the same thing. I wonder if he'll see the exact same thing actually. He might go to Hype Cave. That's a very common option as well for the fake flute. The important thing for Coxla now is to open up all the entrances that he can't go into normally, although he didn't open up Thieves Town. As soon as he goes into an entrance and comes back out, the game will reset him back into being a bunny. We see Krithel not checking Bumper Cave, he's just doing Village of Outcasts stuff. He is going to get Thieves Town open. Krithel also has the option of dying in Thieves Town, which will... Because Agonib's not dead, when you die, the game wants to put you back in the Light World, but because we're in a dungeon, we stay in the dungeon that we're in, which will result in a phenomenon known as fake Dark World. He will look like he's in the Dark World, but still be in the Light World. Oh my god, and another rod. Anyway, the fake Dark World is quite useful for checking things on Dark World screens as Link because you have no pull requirement since you're technically in the Light World. We get a map of this dungeon, we see it's a crystal. We also got another bottle while we were here. But yeah, since we're in the fake Dark World, we're in the Light World, which means if we'll do an overall transition, the game will put you on the Light World screen of those coordinates. So if you're in the fake Dark World, you can't continue on to do other Dark World things, but I think Krithel was more interested in just getting things like Thieves Town open, and then taking this into Kakariko probably, since we haven't seen that yet. Whereas Coxla's gone all the way down to Hype Cave. Finding his fire rod, that kinda might be difficult for Krithel to get. It's a little bit isolated now that he's done Village of Outcasts. There's another bottle! The seed is so free! We really like having a lot of bottles. The ability to chain multiple YBAs is super useful, and there are a lot of times where we will need magic as well. So having the potion for magic is also not unwelcome. We get a bomb shop guy check. He tells us some crystal information. We're not very concerned with the fact that these crystals are red. We're just concerned that they're crystals. This is key sanity, which means we don't know what the dungeon prizes are. This guy has an easy way of telling us what 2 crystals are. Looks like Krithel is mirroring, maybe just 2 Kakariko. He has to mirror twice, since he's in the Light World. The first mirror takes him into the Dark World, which is kind of funny. But yeah, we have a lot of other ways of getting into Pyramid Fairy. Not using... You will be very hard pressed to find somebody actually buying the red bomb. Looks like Coxla's done for now with his Dark World as well. He leaves his portal behind. He might come back to it later. There's a glove. That was technically dupable if he wanted to, but there's not a whole lot of use for having mitts. So, understandably, decides not to. It would take a potion and would also... Oh my god, the Cane of Samaria! Okay, we have to start thinking about Go Mode, quite frankly. This is so many useful glitching items. Cane of Samaria. Just as broken as bottles are. We have a lot of things we can do indoors with the Cane of Samaria. And the fact that we can use the Cane of Samaria multiple times and not really use up anything but magic makes it more useful than bottles sometimes. Wow, Coxla's actually going for this! Oh my god, he is actually going for this sword dupe right now. With the 2 bottles. This is pretty sick, if he can go for this. It's a little time consuming, but he's got to think with how many... He has both rods, he has 2 bottles. He's approaching Go Mode, I think. Same with Krithel. What this double YBA will do is write the chest data from Agina's Cave to the dam, since the dam is next to Agina's Cave on the Underworld map. So as long as Agina's chest is closed, this double YBA, if he does it correctly, will close the chest. He saves and quits. Maybe he only had 1 potion. Or maybe he thought that would dupe it. Yeah, it does not work with full health. He needed to take some damage. I don't think 1 YBA is enough. I think he's about to find out some bad news. Meanwhile, Krithel has been clearing Kakariko. He found a hammer and a cane. Both of those are pretty useful items. He is not going to get his fire rod. Yeah, the dupe didn't work. He needed to do 2 potions. If he had used the Cane of Samaria, then it would have worked. He just resets there. Krithel is going back to the Dark World. He might do a mirror rep here, which will kind of, again, it will allow him to hit a transition from a different point. And the effect that has here is brings him into the middle of the screen, which is where Stumpy is. He can grab Stumpy's item, which gives him Super Bunny, and then he can take this Super Bunny to a tree pool to get a Link state again. It looks a little weird because of the camera, but the camera gets fixed eventually. And now he's going to go over to the tree in front of Hype Cave, hopefully, and get a link state for Hype Cave, which will give him his third bottle. We have to hope that he goes over to Digging Game to get his Fire Rod. Coxla has come over to Escape. Escape is a little bit of a strange play. We might have thought with the mirror that he would combine this with a mirror portal offset to do Pyramid Fairy, but he decided against that. Very funny, big key to this dungeon. He does have the key, so he can combine this to Back of Escape. Oh, actually, he's opening the door. This is pretty cool. So opening this door can allow him to come to Escape from Hera later on to hopefully steal the Keyrant key, and we can use that in other dungeons from Hera. It looks like Krithel is doing Digging Game, so that's very good for him to see. Oh, a second Ice Rod. That's indicative of the item pool, the 2 of each rod we have. That's probably good news for Krithel. I don't expect him to miss that for too long. He gets his Fire Rod. Escape is not too uncommonly Xenoplay because of the big key on the Ball and Chain guard. We can do a lot of glitches that take us from caves into dungeons, and we can be in dungeons while still in that cave state. Okay, that's kind of funny. And there are some big keys that we can have in our inventory that will allow us to use big keys in a cave, which, and there's no big key of a cave, but the Hyrule Castle big key is one of the big keys that works when you're in a cave. It's very funny that he finds the Ganon's Tower big key on his way there. That's another cave state big key. Krithel finally going to Hype Cave. This will probably be the end of his Dark Water route. And the 4th bottle! Wow, so now each of them will be at 3 bottles. That's pretty nice. Coxla will probably finish this with going to Uncle, and he will do one of his glitches to go to a dungeon, and he's going to YBA in this doorway, although I don't think he has a potion. But anyway, hopefully he'll do it eventually a YBA in this doorway, which will take him to Thieves Town. And then since he's acquired a cave state key, he should be able to open the big key doors in Thieves Town. But he decided not to do the YBA. Maybe realized he didn't actually have the potion. Krithell's still in the Dark World. He's probably going to finish up with the South Kakariko and Desert checks, which we didn't see yet. He can clip in as a bunny to the Maya area, which is a little bit annoying. But with the shadow, it makes it kind of, if you know the cues, it's doable. Coxla in Back of Escape using his glove. Krithel, I don't think got his glove. Although he does have a shovel. It's a little awkward to route it in while doing the Dark World stuff because he wanted to keep his link state. He couldn't mirror, or else he would lose it. Coxla will be making the first of many trips that we'll be seeing to the potion shop. He has a mushroom, so he can hand that in while he's there. But the potion shop is it's a hot spot for no logic because potions are so valuable. We'll probably be seeing some YBAs very soon. The first one you probably expect to see is the one to Thieves Town. That's a very commonly seen one. Meanwhile, Krithel does it. Coxla kind of has the option of safe scumming his mushroom, not to check the magic bat with the fake powder, but fake powdering. It changes a variable that we will hopefully be changing a lot to do some very major glitches later on. He decides not to. He loses his mushroom though, so he doesn't know about the cane, so it's hard for him to think about fake powder right now. Okay, Coxla is doing a screen wrap from Death Mountain. He's using this to get to the bottom of Spectacle Rock, and from Spectacle Rock, he can do a bomb clip against the diagonal slope in there, which will take him downwards from Spectacle Rock. It happens that below Spectacle Rock is Palace of Darkness. Krithel, forgetting he doesn't have a Desert Palace small key, but he can get the items on the left side even without it. One of the things that's happened with Coxla's clip to pod is Spectacle Rock, that cave, is actually at the bottom of the Ichi map, the Underworld map. So when he transitions down, he kind of wraps to the top of it, which is where pod is. And one of the effects of wrapping the EG map is that all of the sprites despawn. And here's Krithel doing his glitch to get to the right side of desert. It's called a quadrant glitch. It involves being hit kind of over the middle of the tile that he was on in such a way that the game didn't update that he had moved. And then meanwhile, Coxla has found the lamp, which is such an exciting item. Not for the reasons you might think. You might think that he's excited because he's about to enter a dark room and be able to see. Nah, the lamp is so powerful in combination with some other items. Although we're a little short of being able to do most of them at the moment. If it comes up, I will have a lot of explaining out of me, so... There's a fluted Agina. We might not see that activated, although I think it's early on enough that Krithel will probably activate that. Opening that chest does mean that he can't dupe the damn sword, which Coxla tried to do earlier. We'll see if that comes back to bite him. But yeah, Krithel finishing up his desert area checks. K45 is a part of that. We have a lot of ways to clip there. Coxla will probably be collecting... oh, maybe not. In a seed like this, that's actually his 4th heart. He was still on 3 hearts. That's kind of funny. But in a seed like this, I would start thinking about picking up as many rupees as I can. He has 3 bottles already. He's approaching what might resemble a go mode. Krithel does pick up his glove. Doesn't look like we found a lot exciting in pod aside from the lamp, but the thing we really want to make the lamp OP is the hookshot. There's a glitch known as hook pushing, which involves some manipulation of things known as ancillary, which are kind of things that we create with items such as Samaria blocks. But for now, we're kind of not ready to do those glitches, so I'll hold off on the spiel about them. Krithel going to desert. He does have the desert big key, but he wouldn't need that desert big key to get to land mode right now. Something we might see him do is kill Landmo and then mirror out, because having the crystal... If we were to get the crystal from desert from another boss, we would walk to the front of the dungeon that the boss belongs to, which can be quite valuable sometimes. But we'll see. Meanwhile, Coxla has done a YBA from inside of pod to Hera that's involving a wrong warp. And here he's going to open up a lot of the doors in Swamp, because below that room in Hera is Swamp. We can clip there using the diagonal wall. And these doors are very... sometimes difficult to open, so being able to open them in cave state like this, I didn't mention it, but when we're in cave state we start off with -1 keys, which is actually the same as having 255 keys, which is essentially having unlimited keys, so we can open up all the small key doors we want. Yes, we saw Krithel light the desert torches, which is not a major glitch. He has a lot of major glitch ways of getting to Landmo, and he did none of them, so we'll see if that remains allowed. Coxla decided not to kill Helmasaur while he was in pod. He did have the option of doing that, with a glitch known as Statue Drag. Krithel taking a lot of damage in that fight. He does collect the crystal. It's kind of interesting. I would have thought he might not want to do that. But yes, first crystal of the match for Krithel. Coxla did not open the Hera big door while he was in Hera from Cave State. He could have done that. He's going back to pod though. Krithel back in desert. This might be a play into parts of swamp. Or Thieves Town, actually. Thieves Town is another option. Desert is kind of situated in the middle of a lot of different other dungeons. Tries to YBA, but he's full on health, so he needs to take some damage. But yeah, he's going to do this to take his big key of desert into another dungeon. In this case, it's Thieves Town. So you have the option of going to Cave State Thieves Town from the Uncle Passageway. This is one of your other options. He's coming from desert. Meanwhile, Coxla back in pod. He might have just wanted to make the 2 trips because he couldn't beat Helmasaur and then Cave State, Hera, and Swamp. But yeah, Krithel, one of the advantages of this way, coming from desert, is that you start in the attic. Having the attic blown up is quite good. We find some dueling big keys. Those are both relatively useful big keys to have. Coxla's going to attempt a door juke here. And this one is quite a lot harder than the one we saw in Mini Molten Cave because this is an auto door. So he's going to have to do some bomb grabs with pretty tight timing. And if he is successful, and if he doesn't die, he's quite low on health. If he's successful, then he'll end up... Yeah, okay, he did die. I thought he had blue mail, but I guess not. What they would have done, the door juke, is he would have... It would have had a similar effect to the quadrant glitch that we saw in Desert, where the game kind of thinks that he's... The transitions he takes in that direction will become a little broken, and the end result of that, after some transitions, will be that he can end up in Hookshot Cave, which happens to be right next to Pod on the Underworld map. But here's the nice thing. When you come from the Uncle to Thieves Town, you start in the basement, but with the attic not blown up. So you have to open the doors and then go blow up the attic, come back, do another loop all the way around. It's quite time consuming. Coming from Desert kind of negates a lot of that. He will have to leave, which is actually probably why he picked up the Desert Prize. When he does a boss fight, the door should open, I think. Oh no! He's a little low on health there. He might have wanted to either leave the room or come back later, I'm not sure. Normally you would do something which kind of interrupts the maiden triggering the fight, which results in the door not closing. And since he already has a Desert Crystal, if he had fought Blind there and killed Blind, no prize would have dropped and he would have been stuck in the room. So you want to wait out of the room afterwards to go back and open the front door of Thieves Town. He's back in the Dark World though. He's wrapped the screen on Death Mountain and he's left a mirror portal, and wrapping the screen like that will leave the mirror portal at what his coordinates were, and his coordinates kept on going south even though he stayed on that screen. So he's going to do a bunch of clips here to get to Hyrule Castle, and the mirror portal will be left off in such a way that he can enter the mirror portal and go to Pyramid Fairy, which is very convenient. And one of the benefits of clipping to Hyrule Castle in this manner is that you can go past the barrier, because it's kind of not there. We get to go straight to Castle Tower, do some checks there. Looks like Coxla is coming to Hyrule Castle as well. He might be here for Thieves Town, coming from the uncle, as I mentioned before. It looks like it. But yeah, Krithel will find his ice rod here, which is good news for him. He's not going to need the one on Bumper Cave. And as well as his other big keys and his 4th bottle, which is a little absurd for so early on in the seed. There's his ice rod. Now he's also going to start thinking about go mode as well. But it's still quite early on. There's a lot of dungeons to clear. We're obviously hoping that we find some swords, because swords are kind of the big thing that are sticking out right now as necessary to beat the seed. We might see Coxla go back later once he gets the cane to try to dupe the sword that he tried to do earlier. Krithel doesn't have that option anymore. And now we see Coxla, he's in Cave State Thieves Town. He can open up all the doors that he wants. He has no hammer, which was in Kakariko, so he doesn't get to open the big chest. Yeah, a lot of the tile sets look a little strange because we're not supposed to be here in a cave. It gets a bit of a stair glitch. You have to kind of dash into that stairs in a particular way to not be sent right back down. But it's not that big a deal. And now here, Coxla's going to open up this door here, which is one of the really important ones. The one that Krithel really is going to regret not opening. Because that on the other side of that is the big key door, which if he's going from the front, he's going to need the big key to open. But he will still have the option of coming from desert later on. Now here we are in Period Fairy. Because we come through here using a mirror transition, we get Super Body, which allows us to open the chests. Get a big key of Maya, which is not the worst big key to have, but with no medallion, the big key of Maya is unusable at the moment. Looks like he forgot to check the pyramid item there. He's gonna have to go back around. We might— ooh, there is a sword. That's good news for Krithel. That is kind of bad news for Coxla. Because he's already done Escape. He hasn't done Period Fairy yet. But we'll see. Krithel might end up doing the Uncle IBA just to come back and clean up Thieves Town. Duping that is a little harder than duping some other visible items. I'm not 100% sure that it's possible. Because of the way you YBA on that screen, puts kind of an invisible transition in the way of you and the item. So he will probably not get that. And especially now that it's picked up, he can't dupe it. He would have needed to not pick it up first. We see Coxla in Desert now. From Thieves Town, he's going to use— well, he's still in Cave State, so he's going to use his keys to open doors in Desert. Doesn't have his Desert big yet. Krithel activating his flute that he got from Megina. So I'll be curious to see what Coxla does from here. He has the option of trying to dupe the Dam Sword again. He might go to Kakariko. He might find something else to do. I guess it's to be seen. I don't believe he fought blind, so if he's gonna do Thieves Town later, he will have to come back. But he opened all the important doors, so he's not gonna need the big key to do that. Okay, he's not doing Agina yet. It makes me think he might want to try duping later on. If he opens the Agina chest, that will prevent him from being able to dupe the dam in that manner. Let me see, Krithel going back to Hyrule Castle. This might be Thieves Town, finally, again, for the second time. Meanwhile, Coxla finally making his Kakariko trip. He'll pick up his cane, be very happy about that. Hopefully he'll pick up his cane at least. So this door is kind of difficult to IBA in because it's so deep. We see Krithel holding out his sword. That gives him kind of a visual lineup on where he is. It's very not advised to do that with no sword, Krithel's coming here. Oh, the maiden is still here. That's interesting. I thought the maiden was dropped off. Maybe there's something happening I don't know about there. But the fight was definitely triggered before, when he came and died to it. Oh, I see. That's good to know. I didn't know that. He's not done the door's closed still, so I wonder if he's messing something up or just not thinking about keeping the door open. But if he doesn't open the door, he's gonna have to save and quit. I think. Coxla does get his cane. Okay, there's a save and quit. I wonder what his plan will be later for Thieves Town. Because I don't believe the big key door at the front is open, and he didn't get the big key yet, which I believe was in pod. Coxla will kind of have the option here of going from the well to Ice Palace, which will use a YBA. But he's a little under-equipped with 6 hearts and a fighter's sword, so he might not. It would not be a surprise. Krithel finally making his pod play. There are some checks that Coxla left behind as a result of his death, so we might see some new stuff from Krithel. Meanwhile, Coxla not doing new checks, but some checks that are not very far from being useless, so. It's a little difficult to say who's in the lead, because there's a lot of things that can happen in a no-logic race. A lot of glitches ahead of us to do that can be time-consuming. Interesting here, Krithel did not go to the back of pod. He only has 2 small keys, so there's not a lot he can do in here. But he can get most of the items if he wants. Here's the glitch to get to Helmasaur though, which involves mirroring while pushing on that statue. It kind of stores a statue drag state. And we use that to unlock the camera and juke some doors, hit transitions in weird ways. And if we've manipulated our camera correctly, we will end up in Helmasaur's room. Yep, we are successful. We end up in the spikes, but we can get out. And yeah, it's kind of... Krithel, I believe, technically, is a little bit in go mode. But it's kind of... There are a lot of items that he would wish that he could find to make his life easier. But as it is, I'm not sure that there's a dungeon he can't beat. He is missing a lot of dungeon info regarding pendants. We know some crystals, but we don't know any pendant aside from Easton. So it'll be interesting to see what dungeons he does. Looks like Coxla is coming back to do his Helmasaur fight as well. Krithel's not doing any checks in pod. He did do a map check though, he saw some more crystals. Well, I think he only saw one new crystal, but one is still good. Yeah, Krithel completely abandoned a lot of the checks in the back of pod, so he didn't get his lamp, which is not a huge deal, but I'm definitely sure that he would like to see the lamp. He might end up getting it. Coxla is in a little bit of a different situation because of not having the Master Sword. Yeah, Krithel's go mode, quote-unquote go mode item was probably the sword. He found the sword and the ice rod close together. He didn't bother trying to dupe the first sword that he found, which Coxla did try and failed to do. Okay, Krithel does get his lamp. He's I think he's not going to spend a lot of time doing all the checks in the back of pod, but he comes here to do this YBA that we saw earlier from Coxla to unlock things in Hera. Coxla didn't open the Hera big door, so Krithel will probably be doing that. Probably open some stuff in Swamp as well. This is something that is a pretty common sight when you hit these early-ish go modes, is you don't have a lot of keys, but you have a lot of bottles. So the way you open up doors is with these cave state routes. Coxla making his way through the Helm's Off fight. He has Fighter Sword. It's a little scarier, but he looks like he's handling it well. Ooh, maybe not. He does have blue mail, so he can take one more hit, but he doesn't even take that hit. Yeah, Krithel opens his big door. He could have chosen to go up and open doors in Swamp, but it didn't look like he was interested. He just saves and quits. All of the sprites have despawned because of the map wrap that he did, so there's no switches for him to leave the dungeon normally. He has to save and quit to get out. He's probably just going to go and do Hera. Hera's a very quick dungeon. For him to do, it'll give him info on pendants, hopefully. Because that's what he really desperately needs right now. We see Coxla doing the same map check, getting the same info. Coxla finally making his Sahasrara check, which Krithel did at the very beginning of the seed. I don't think he will find anything of use here. Okay, Krithel just going straight to Moldon, rather. No small keys, so he can't open up Swamp, which Coxla did earlier. If Swamp ends up being at Crystal, that might end up being a problem for Krithel, but the fact we don't actually have flippers yet, so if we don't find the flippers, we're gonna have to find... Oh, he perked. It's unfortunate. We might have to end up finding other ways of doing Swamp. Oh, he's really getting bullied there. But yes, there are a number of ways of bypassing items. There is a Moon Pearl in Hera. We really like seeing that. It makes doing some Dark World dungeons easier, but it's very far from being necessary. I believe Coxla is going to do his sword dupe, or at least attempt to. He has his cane out. Yeah, he's going to try to dupe the sword here. So this will hopefully be his Master Sword. Wow, he's having a lot of difficulty picking this block up. Okay, Krithel going into Dark World, I think for Skullwoods. It's another dungeon we don't have map info on. Samaria blocks can prove to be quite difficult to pick up indoors sometimes. Okay, he's resorting to a more manual way of getting the block into the door. He's not even looking at Bumble Edge, he's not going to see his other eyes red. He's really go-moding quite aggressively here. Which is going to pay out. Coxla hasn't really found anything of much use in the extra checks he's done. He is about to get his Master Sword and join Krithel in probably go mode. Doing this, this is kind of a little different from doing a YBA. He's going to have to be on a certain pixel with the block in the doorway and then move into the doorway, which I believe he did not do. Or maybe he did it and he's just leaving to go to the dam now. Yeah, okay, it looks like he got it. You can transition to end up in the dam straight away. But I'm not sure if the chest would be closed doing that. But he should be able to get his Master Sword. Because what the Transition Corruption did is write some data from Agina to the dam, and there is his sword. Finally. But while he's been doing this, and he's been doing some of his extra checks, Krithel has been rushing dungeons. He's in Skullwoods now. Decent odds that this is a pendant, but he would really like for this to be a crystal and for some of the more annoying dungeons to be pendants. Because Skullwoods is definitely a much easier dungeon to do than something like Mizurumaya. And we actually see Coxla doing the dupe again. He's gonna get his Tempered Sword, which is pretty nice. It's a very big step up in terms of damage. Gets Bombers. Might be useful, we don't know my medallion yet. I'm not sure what chest he would open after transitioning to the dam. I think it would be... I don't think it would be Agina's item. But maybe I'm wrong. He did get a crystal from Mothula. So that's very good news for Krithel. I think he's gonna go... maybe back to the Dark World? I'm not sure. Coxla has... maybe... yeah, he has kind of done some... he took a few steps that you try to avoid. Oh, did he reset his sword? Oh no, that really sucks. I think he might have been fine. I'm not sure if he crashed or if he just got some corruption, but that's really quite unfortunate. He spent a lot of time on that. Krithel's second sword is on the pyramid. So we might not see Coxla do that because he's pretty much in go mode. He's going to stick with getting this sword, which is kind of the right thing for him to do. I think he's thinking about go mode as well. Krithel came over here. I'm not sure what he's buying potions to do Vitreous, I believe. Since we don't have the Maya... oh, we do have the Maya Big and the Maya Cane. Or the Cane of Samaria. So I'm not sure what he wants the potions for. Okay, I think... I'm not sure if he was successful in doing the dupe there, but it looks like he's going for it again, so maybe not. Looks like Bombers was our Maya medallion. Yeah, I think that can crash. I think it might crash again because of the transition he came through. Hopefully that's not the case. Yeah, I think that's a crash. Going through the fading transition is a real problem for glitches like this. You want to really avoid doing that. For reasons that I don't really understand. Krithel's in Maya here. He's down to 3 dungeons for his 2 pendants. Finding a crystal in Maya would be probably best case for him. Todorok is another dungeon that's pretty easy for him to finish, but we don't want to see a crystal at Swamp because we would have to do some... oh, he drinks a potion. I don't know. That was... okay, he got the YBA. I couldn't tell because he wasn't missing health, but we can YBA from that room there in Maya to Agatel, and then we can do a spin YBA here, or in this door, and this will take us to Vitreous. I think he's doing this just for time save, because he has the Maya Big and the Cane, but... okay, he gets it. That was very nicely done. Okay, Coxla got his transition corruption there. He can go collect his sword. We'll see if he goes for it again. He might not. This is a difficult fight with no bow, so... he might drink a potion here in phase 2. Oh, Coxla's gonna do... Landmo into Argus, maybe. Which is pretty cool, although he didn't flood the dam while he did his transition corruptions. So maybe he's just interested in doing Landmo only. I don't think he has unlocked Hera, so... He's gonna have a hard time getting the moon pearl. He'll have to get it eventually, since Mordor has a crystal. We'll see how Coxla approaches this, if he'll do the glitch, or if he'll do the destruction of property. It looks like he chooses peace instead of vandalism. Looks like Krithel did get a crystal. He's actually hit all of the correct calls regarding crystals. So now he's only got 2 dungeons left, and both of these dungeons are quite simple for him to do. Thieves Town, as we've seen him do a number of times. But Ice Palace is not super difficult, but we have to get in there using probably a YBA. But it's not going to be a big deal for Krithel to get to Ice Palace. So he's quite comfortably very close to finishing right now. He will not take very long to finish the seed. I'm not sure what he's doing. Maybe thinking about how he's going to do Thieves Town. Meanwhile, Coxla takes down Landmer. Maybe we'll combine it with killing Argus. Which is a little unfortunate because we know that Swamp's a pendant. Coxla does not know that yet. Yeah, he's taking some damage here to set up a Death Warp. He's going to do a Transition Corruption with the Cane. The useful result of this will be partially the corruption, but also partially to create some pits, which he will use to Death Warp in. But he will Death Warp the same frame that he falls in the pit, which will lead to some rather glitchy consequences. And then he's going to use that to kind of... I don't understand exactly why, but it's going to end up taking him to Argus's room. Oh, Ice Palace is a pendant. I see. That changes the story a bit, Krithel. Krithel should know Ice Palace. He was the first one to match check, I believe. But yeah, here's kind of the... Oh no, he's in glitch jail. Part of the risk of failing is ending up in glitch jail. He kind of gets warped to a empty super tile where he can't do anything. But with the mirror, he can come back pretty easily. Meanwhile, Krithel finally getting his Thieves Town crystal. It's been so long. Coxla doing round 2 for his Death Hole. He's being very cautious by killing this Devalent. It's not really threatening, but it can mess you up a little bit. So I guess Krithel now has his 50-50 for the last crystal, which is Todorock and Swamp. I think we'll expect him to see... we'll expect to see him do Todorock first. Because Todorock is quite a lot easier for him than Swamp at the moment. With the cane and the big key. He can do it pretty much entirely normally. We'll see him do a mirror wrap to carry straight to Laser Bridge. He might check some things for a sword. Maybe not. Yep, we're gonna do the mirror up here, we're gonna jump off in a certain place. He kinda messed it up, so he might have to resort to a more old school version. Or maybe not, he's just gonna start again. Meanwhile, Coxla doing his fight against Argus. This is possible without the hookshot, because of the camera being unlocked. We don't actually have to kill the puffs. It turns out if we get them all off screen, then that's good enough. The game will hand you your success and progress to phase 2. It can be a little scary because if you scroll the camera back after off-screening the puffs, they can all come back to Argus, which makes him very difficult to hit. But Coxla's having a little bit of difficulty getting him to the top of the screen. The cape is very useful here because Argus is quite deadly. Looks like we found nothing on Laser Bridge. And yeah, Krithel's in the lead, although things can become a little interesting if Todorock is a pendant, because clearing Swamp is quite difficult with the item loadout they have right now. Coxla's really struggling with this Argus fight. Yeah, if this is a Crystal, Krithel is just completely done. He's gonna go straight from the front of Todorock to Aga 2 using a Quadrant Glitch into a Transition Corruption. The purpose of that will be to set the full ID of the tile he goes to be the Aga 2 tile. And killing Aga 2, no matter what dungeon you're in, counts as killing Aga 2, so we won't have to do anything like climb GT. I mean, Coxla's still not quite getting it. This can be really tricky if Argus doesn't behave. It looks like he might have it this time. He wants to be at the bottom of the screen. Oh, he did get it. Nice. Some of the puffs are still on Argus, as we can see, but unfortunately with the Fighter Sword, this fight will take him a lot of health. He might need to drink another potion if he has one, because the puffs are going to fall on top of him every single time. This is why you want to stay on the bottom of the screen. He's going to try... Yeah, he gets a fire shot in. That's good. I think this is the last hit, so he should be good now. And yes, Krithel does find the map of Todorock. He gets his crystal, which is really good news for him. Really bad news for Coxla. Krithel is gonna... He's already on his way to Aga 2 right now. Right there is a Quadrant Glitch. By spinning as you hit the middle of the room, it doesn't quite update what part of the room he's in, and then he's going to do his Transition Corruption, so that when he goes to this broken transition, he ends up falling, and this falls him into Aga 2's tile. So all that's left for him right now is Aga 2 and Ganon. He's going to finish really quickly. Meanwhile, Coxla, he's going to get his duped sword again, and then he's going to have to figure out what he wants to do next. Having Argus killed is useful, but it's not all of the steps towards beating Swamp Palace. In fact, beating Swamp is going to be a really tough ask if he decides to go through with it. He's going to need a lot of potions. Unfortunately, Coxla also doesn't have the flute because he's been using Agina's chest to dupe the dam. He hasn't been able to open it yet. And I doubt we'll see him open it. Krithel will have his Ganon fight. This is far from being trivial. He is Master Sword Silverless, and I'm not sure how many potions he has left. He might do some cage strats to make these phases easier, but no matter how easy or difficult he finds it, it's going to take him a long time. Meanwhile, we'll see what Coxla does next. He doesn't know which dungeons are pendants yet, aside from Ice Palace. He might be going to Skull Woods to beat that, find out whether or not that's a pendant or a crystal. He's gonna get bombers, which will be useful for him for doing Maya. But his way there is gonna be a lot harder because of not having the power. Looks like he's actually going to Dark Death Mountain, maybe? I'm not sure why. He'll just go to Todorock, I guess. Krithel does die. This fight is not very easy, as we see. He doesn't know that he's quite far ahead at this point, so he might... Hopefully he manages to keep his composure. He might not have potions, which would be a bit of a problem. Yeah, we see Coxla doing this. I wonder what his plan is. I guess going to the middle of Turtle Rock and then using the big key to progress to the back. It's quite a bit harder to get to Laser Bridge while you're still a Bonnie. Almost get stepped on by a Tektite there, but still had iframes, thankfully. Okay, Krithel gets a good spot, gets a lot of spins in there, uses the cape. This spot is a lot less friendly. Ooh, oh no! He needs to be really careful. He does have the pearl, so thankfully dying on Ganon is a lot less of a death sentence than without the pearl. Without the pearl, you wouldn't have your Link State, and fighting Ganon again would take a lot of effort getting back. He knows, obviously, that the seed was super fast, and that Coxla can be anywhere. Coxla could also be on Ganon, as far as he knows, so it might seem like a reasonable move to go and buy some potions, but in his mind he probably doesn't think he has the time. He needs to really not rush and just get this boss killed though. And it was brought up earlier, but yes, having the lamp here, super useful because of phase 4 rather. You want to preserve as much magic as possible, especially if you're going to be using the cape. Meanwhile, with Coxla in Turtle Rock, he's doing a transition corruption. Oh my god, that's kind of funny. He did a transition corruption which allows him to open lava chests from the big chest, and because of the mismatch in the size of the chests, he could have opened that chest multiple times. And if that had been his first glove, he could have opened it twice to get mitts. Oh no, that warp! Straight on top of him, that's so unlucky. He's gonna think here, he's quite low on magic, so another attempt at the fight. Okay, he's going back in. I'm not sure if he has magic or not. A magic potion. Like I said, this is a really difficult fight, especially in a race setting when you're nervous the whole time. Hopefully he used his couple seconds of break to calm down a little there. Phase 2 is really, it's quite punishing and very difficult, so it's not surprising to see a couple deaths. He gets a good position here, he can get a lot of hits in. As long as he stays safe and waits for his moments, where he can get hits in like that, he should be fine. But it feels very difficult to wait in a race. To be patient, you want to rush to get all your hits in. Oh, he does have potions, that's quite a good sight. There was also a blue potion, so magic is hopefully not too big a concern. He's probably going to 100% need Torch Glitch. The phase 4 might be a little too difficult without Torch Glitch. But thankfully with the lamp, it's not that hard to get Torch Glitch. He's through phase 2, that's really good. He got a lot of hits in there, and now all he has to do is get him through in phase 4, and phase 4 is quite long, but quite a lot easier, so... Meanwhile, we see Coxla on Trinex. He's gonna get a crystal for this, which is good news for him. He's not gonna be aware of the last pendant for a while, though. Yeah, Krithel gets a lamp out. He has to be a little careful, he doesn't have a lot of lamp uses. Okay, that was quite close. Running out of magic would have been disastrous there. Oh, it was the last lamp use! Oh my god. Okay, he's fine though, as long as he takes it slow, gets his spins in, he'll be totally fine. He has a lamp to preserve magic. Coxla does take a Trinex death, unfortunately. This is where having a Tempered Sword would have been a really big asset for Coxla. It's quite a shame that he crashed. It's not very fair to say that it's execution that's the problem. These races are very stressful. There's a lot of difficult things Krithel had to do to beat this seed. And he knows that this is really quick. He's at Ganon very early, and Coxla could be right behind him. There's a lot of things for him to be nervous about, or to be exhausted about, from a lot of the things that he's done in this seed. So Krithel is a very, very good runner, and if you give him a save state in practice, with nothing else going on, he can do this fight. And he is going through it quite well this time. Now that he's through the first two phases, he should be able to close it out. He's doing pretty well, getting a lot of triples. It's really hard to stress how difficult seeds like this can be, and how good of a job both Coxla and Krithel are doing. They're showing quite a lot of good stuff. It's very unfortunate for Coxla that he crashed doing his sword duping, but there is Krithel killing Ganon successfully. Get your GGs in for him. A really blistering time here. This is such a quick time for a no-logic seed. Finishing with a time of 1 hour, 10 minutes, and 35 seconds. Get your GGs in. We'll see if we get him in for an interview. Coxla, meanwhile, finishing out the seed, it looks like. He did get his crystal from Todorock. He might do his Aga 2 kill here. He's probably going to do some checks for items as well, because he would really like flippers for Swamp, or a hookshot maybe. And a sword, of course, is always going to be welcome. Yeah, with winning this race, Krithel goes up 1-0 in the series. This is a best of 3. Coxla's not out of it yet. And the loser of this series will not be out of the tournament. This is a double elimination format, and we're still in the winner's bracket here. So a lot of really tough runners remain to face, but a loss is not the end of the world for either of them. So we might see Coxla here do a little bit of a shortcut to Roller Room by doing a transition corruption with the Samaria, because it kind of changes what room the game thinks he's in. When he ends up transitioning to the right, he'll go straight to the chest in Roller Room. Hopefully. The skull that keeps floating over is such a real pain sometimes, because he loves getting in the way, and part of the side effects of the transition corruption is the creation of some pits, and he can knock you into them very easily. And we are joined by Krithel. Congratulations on winning this race.
Thank you.
So what are some of your initial thoughts here? This was such a quick seed.
I mean, it's about the kindest that Rando gets, really. Actually, I couldn't have stumbled across a better route. Like, everything just fell into place as we went along. I mean, don't get me wrong, I tried to make it as hard on myself as possible, but sometimes Rando's too nice.
Yeah, that early Darkboard play with the fake flute into the Super Bunny Link State route that ended up paying off huge.
Yeah, that just ran into everything I needed as I needed it. Yeah, when I got that bottle, I immediately started thinking, could I fake flute to Kakariko? But with nothing else, I wasn't that interested. And then, I think, did I find a sword? Something got me up the mountain. I think I just went up the mountain and then found a sword in the dam. I kind of just convinced myself to go up the mountain, found a sword in the dam, and it pushed me into making the early fake flute play.
Yeah, Coxla did a similar fake flute play with the early blue Persian. He didn't open up Thieves Town and do some of the extra stuff that you did there, but he ended up not doing Pyramid Fairy with his escape play, which led to him not getting a sword, and he spent a lot of time trying to dupe the damn sword from Agina, which he was eventually successful in doing, but...
I was going to say, I know how to dupe that with Samaria, but the only way I know VRAMs, and I can't VRAM. I was pretty sad about that.
That's true. He did, I think he was technically in Go mode earlier, but... ran into some troubles. There was an Ice Rod on Bumble Edge, which was actually the first one we saw.
Okay.
That might have been a problem for you, given some of your Dark World routing, but the other one ending up in escape was quite useful.
Yeah, I would have done if my initial plans had gone off. I would have checked Bumper Ledge after Thieves. The plan was to go from Thieves into Skull, so
Right.
Desert into Thieves, do that into Skull. Messed up LSD blind, so I had to call it there, which is what drove me to escape at that point, because I needed some time to work out and replan. I actually wasn't going to go and do Pyramid Fairy with escape because I think it's pretty slow when you're basically in go mode, but I just knew I needed a few minutes to think it through, and that gave me it, and also ran into the Master Sword, which was nice enough.
Yeah, you started really aggressively go moding after that, but you must have been quite nervous after some of those blind fights not going correctly.
Oh yeah, that was just bad, that's fine.
Yeah.
No, the problem with blind is, when you're expecting LSD and not getting it both times that happens, and that's what threw me. If I just go in and do the blind script, I feel pretty comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a little bit of a symptom of running the glitch modes is that sometimes your regular execution suffers. We saw some mistakes from Coxla as well. Some unfortunate deaths. He's in go mode, he has been in go mode. He got his sword successfully. He's not aware of the last pendant yet, but he should get there pretty soon. Hopefully, he's about to get his bumpers from Muffula.
I was just praying that Swamp would end up with that pendant as we got closer and closer, because I was going to have to go and CT dupe it. I'm not good enough at the front fake flippers to be confident enough to do that. So.
Yeah, with getting the Mine Medallion, Swamp was easily the biggest potential problem in the seed, but it being a pendant is quite fortunate.
Mine Medallion was absolutely clutch.
Mm-hmm.
Love to see that.
And the lamp that you got in pod. You do the one check in pod and you get the lamp.
Yep.
Not that it was
pretty helpful at the end there.
Yeah, useful for Ganon, not quite so much for glitching.
No, yeah, we do. No Ancilla fun today, but sometimes you need to use it for its intended use once in a while.
Yeah, it does look like we see a forfeit from Coxla. Understandable, he's not quite as close to finishing as you were. He doesn't know about his last pendant yet, and he doesn't have his pearl, in fact. Forgot to open the big key door of Hera while he was doing his cave state stuff. But he did quite well in the seed. Really, it looks like he's quite far behind, but that's kind of a result of finishing so quickly, as Krithel did. Getting your GG's in, he put in a good show. It looks like we're going to get him in here for an interview as well. And here he is, GG Coxla.
GG Coxla.
Hello, GG Krithel.
Yeah, quite a quick seed. Looked like some things didn't quite go your way.
Yep, it was. I think I could have completed it, but 1 hour and 10 minutes was way too fast. Even if I had problems with duping swords and killing Argus and lots of places where I lost time. I also forgot to open the big key door in Tower of Hera, so
that was Krithel finding the pearl actually on Moldorm was quite a useful thing for him in the endgame.
No.
Yeah, it was very
huge
unfortunate.
find.
Yeah, the play to dupe the swords was quite impressive. It's a shame that you ended up sinking a lot of time and then crashing doing that. It was quite good. Krithel ended up finding a different sword on Pyramid, which was his goal.
There was one on Pyramid. Yeah. I was thinking of doing it with Mirror too, but forgot.
Yeah.
Is Swamp a pendant?
Swamp is a pendant. That was really unfortunate for Krithel. Because Krithel was, he was quite far from really being able to finish Swamp. He had kind of 0 maps towards the end and kind of had to just do a bunch of dungeons blind. Got very lucky with Swamp being dependent.
Yeah. Yeah, as I say, everything just fell into my lap as I was going along. Even just like the glove before going into desert, because I wanted to do desert into thieves, but without the glove I would have just got trapped in Landmo. But digging up that glove before I went there, like even the little things just worked out beautifully in this route.
Mm-hmm. We still saw some very cool stuff from you as well, Coxla. The sword duping was something that I might not have thought of.
I was really happy because I heard of this in one of these races in the chat. I saw you can dupe a sword from Agina into the dam. Oh, that's great. I hope I'll find a sword somewhere. This place one time.
It was also another thing that really went in Krithel's favor was the fact that you couldn't open Agina's chest as a result of doing that for a while, but it did have the flute, which Krithel made good use of. Buying potions.
Why too bad, but it was a cool skill.
Yeah, very friendly. All those bottles early and the cane and Kakariko.
Yep.
Definitely a little bit of a change from some of the other races you two have done.
Yes.
Yeah, well, you were hoping you got a better seed than against VZ, and I guess in a way this was.
It definitely was a better seed. It was more enjoyable, even if I lost.
It's a different kind of stress having a seed like this, where it's just so fast.
Oh, yeah. We were saying during your Ganon fight that it really cannot be helpful not knowing that Coxla wasn't in the Ganon fight there with you.
Oh, absolutely. I could have lost at any point after my eternal Ganon fight. But, all you can do is just settle down, try and do it eventually.
A real symptom of the early go mode is just not having swords, which is kind of a bit of a running theme.
Bad at Master Sword Ganon, so just a lot of little mistakes, but every little mistake killed me. So.
Yeah, this is game 1. You've got game 2 coming up. I'm not sure if you have that scheduled yet.
Tuesday, I think.
Yes.
Yes, Tuesday. At about this time-ish.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 2 hours later, 1 p.m. EDT.
Yeah, 1 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday if you want to see game 2 between these two. If you have any final thoughts about the seed or about the matchup or the tournament, let me know.
Just thank you for coming. Thanks, Jaxie, for tracking.
Yep. What Peter said. Thank you very much.
Yeah, huge shout out to Jaxie as well as Raz. Make sure you give them all a follow if you liked what they did. Everyone had their own very difficult job. Yes, we do have game 2 coming up. Hopefully we get to see a seed like this. But I think that will probably be it for us here. So, thank you everyone for watching. I believe we'll be heading out. I'm not sure what's on the schedule, but it doesn't look like there's another No Logic race until later on tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern. We have JD Silvergun vs Podiwong. That's a losers bracket matchup. It's first, I believe. So that will take us out. Thank you everyone again for watching. I hope you have a good rest of your day.